I'd like to welcome everyone tonight, and especially our guest speaker tonight is Shane Liddick and his assistant, Mackenzie Liddick. And I'm going to let him tell you everything we need to know.
I don't know about everything, but I'll try and tell you a lot. Thank you very much. So my name is Shane Liddick. I am the president of Liddick Auction Services, Inc. I do very much appreciate being invited here this evening to spend the night with you. We'll give you a little bit of an inside look at the auction process, what that looks like, how you can go about it, and the kinds of things that we do sell, and maybe a little bit about what we don't sell. On the first slide here, you can see, I'm from Millersburg, so sorry, I have a lot of Millersburg stuff on here. Vintage Millersburg Indians class jacket. That is a Ned Smith ferry boat painting on the right-hand side. The trout jumping out of the water is an original painting by Vaughn Duffy Miller from Millersburg. Those wooden boards in the center right are from Harvey Goodling's Harley-Davidson dealership in Millersburg. It was over in Lankerville. Millersburg class pennant, similar to the ones hanging around the room here, and a Halls and Miller Brothers dairy box. All items that we have sold at auction, as well as many similar to it, stuff that people buy, things that people collect, and there is somebody out there for everything. So how did I get here? I went to auctions all the time as a child. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents when I was a child, and auctions is what they did. That was your Saturday. I began working in my teen years, going to auctions. I started by buying scrap metal, taking it to the recycling yard, paid for my truck that way. My grandfather passed away when I was 15. He was my auction buddy, and I was asked to start working for Diebler & Shoup Auctioneers out of Halifax. So I did that for a few years, and we were working on an auction in Lycans, behind Don's Food Right, and that's when the big question came, and Ed Shoup asked me when I was going to go get my auction license, which I had absolutely zero intentions of doing. I hated being in front of people. I did not want to be the center of attention. I didn't want to speak in front of people. So I told him never. But I thought about it a little bit, and in Pennsylvania at that time, there were two ways that you could obtain an auction license. You could do an apprenticeship, where you had to be an apprentice under a licensed auctioneer for a period of at least 2 years and conduct about 30 auctions in that time frame. Or you could go to auction school. Auction school was a 15-week accelerated program that you could do. There were 3 schools at that time in the state of Pennsylvania, and Hack was one of them. So either way, you had to take the state board exam. There's a Pennsylvania State Board of Auctioneer Examiners. They have an exam much like nursing students do, much like attorneys do. Ours isn't quite as hard though. But anyway, you have to take the exam either way. So another auctioneer that was helping Mr. Shoup said, your best bet is going to be to go to auction school. It's going to kind of stink to give up 15 Saturdays and 15 Sundays, 8 hours each day, but they're going to teach you what you need to know. They're going to teach you about what's on the test, and you'll be able to take the test, pass it, and get your license. Schooling, schooling, and more schooling is the 4th bullet point down there, 5th bullet point. I was in the midst of my accounting degree at Lock Haven University when I decided to go to auction school. So Monday through Friday, I was in Lock Haven sitting in the classroom all day to get an accounting degree, and I would drive home Friday night. I would get up Saturday morning, go down to Hack, be in class for 8 to 9 hours at Hack, come home, go to sleep, go back down to Hack on Sunday, Sunday night, leave and go back up to Lock Haven. Do it all over again. So that was a grueling 15 weeks, to say the least. But I made it through. I was able to get it done, and I had to take the test.
You're echoing now.
I heard that a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why.
I don't. That's what happened the last time.
Okay.
Maybe it's too close.
This too close. Maybe.
No,
No, it doesn't come out at all.
Okay.
Let's get this understood. yelled at you.
You weren't supposed to hear that.
Well, I did. Preparation is key. Making sure you have backups for backups for backups is always a good thing. So the test came. As I said, you have to pass the Auction Board of Exam test. I took the test. I got notification on a Tuesday that I had passed the test, which was fantastic. And Thursday the crisis hit. I got a phone call that Mr. Shoup had passed away. That was my entire plan, was get my license, go work with him, and then after he was long ready to retire, take over the business and move forward. So when I got that phone call, I ran over to my dad. And I said, what am I going to do now? And he said, well,
It was louder than that the last time.
well, I don't know. We'll get through this one way or another. Okay. So I asked my dad, what am I going to do now? The plan has just been destroyed. He said, well, you got your license, you're going into the auction business. So at 19 years old, I was a business owner. The photos here, these items are Halloween blow mold decorations. They take plastic, put it into a mold, force air into it, blows it up. At one time, they were supposed to be disposable decorations. Use them a year or two, throw them away. They have become very highly collectible. That was probably the largest collection that I have done. She had Halloween, Christmas, Easter, patriotic for 4th of July, that kind of thing. She had a whole pile. Autographed basketball was an item that I was fortunate enough to be able to sell in a charity auction. That's one thing that you get asked to do quite a lot. Can you come and help us with a fundraising event? So you go, you do your thing, and try and raise some money for a good cause. I think that basketball brought in about $2,500 that night. And down here we have an antique machinist chest. Would have been a machinist in any one of the factories around here. Would have been their livelihood stored in that chest. And all of their tooling and so forth. Again, they've become very collectible. It wasn't meant to be something that was kept or saved or held onto. It was a tool in itself. And for the most part, anything that was made to be collectible is not. And anything that was made to be disposable has become very collectible and can be very valuable at this point. What do we sell? All the stuff. My lovely assistant and my wife hates this, but when we were early on in our relationship, she was sleeping and started to talk in her sleep, and she was telling me that she had a boyfriend. And I said, oh, really? She said, yeah, his name's Shane. I said, oh, Shane who? She said, Shane Liddick. I said, well, who's he? She said, the auctioneer. I said, oh, what does he sell? Stuff. What kind of stuff? All the stuff. So that has kind of become our running joke, is that we sell all the stuff. What services do we offer? It would be really, really nice and really, really easy if I could stand here and tell you that the only thing I have to do is show up and talk really fast. That is not at all how this business works. We go, we pack, we haul, we move, we push, we pull, we lug, we tug, we clean, we organize, we sort, we photograph, we do the auction, and then there's a whole slew of paperwork that happens behind the scenes afterwards. We do currently offer live and online auctions. During the COVID pandemic, we do a lot of coin auctions. And during the COVID pandemic, we got inundated with inventory. And my safe is only so big. And it was time to get some of this inventory out of the way. And I looked around and saw other auctioneers are doing online auctions. Let's try it. So we did coins online, and it went very well. Then we did some jewelry online, and it went very well. Sports cards and collectibles, that went well. So we decided to do an entire house full of merchandise. online, and it went very, very well. We have noticed that 25 years ago, when I was going to auctions with my grandparents, everybody went to a live auction on a Saturday. That was what you did. Today, that is not the case. Most people do not want to spend their time and quote-unquote waste their Saturday sitting at an auction to maybe get something and maybe not. They will, however, drive from here to Kingdom Come to pick something up if they can bid on it on their couch in their living room. We've had folks bring trailers similar to the one in the picture from the Poconos and pick up 2,500 pieces of Christmas Village collectibles, Department 56 Christmas Village. That same auction, we had a guy drive down from Massachusetts to pick up his Christmas Village pieces. We have people drive routinely from Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Jersey, and it's no big deal. So we also offer appraisal services. When you get into an estate, someone passes away, family wants to keep things. Unfortunately, divorce situations and the assets of the marriage need to be divvied up, or for insurance purposes. You can get into appraisals, and that is defining value as of a given moment in time. So what are the options? Basically, you tell me. We try and tailor our service to what you need in your particular situation. Some folks want to walk in lockstep through the whole process. They want to help dig through the attic, and they want to help clean things and set it up and everything that goes along with that. I have other people who have handed me a key and said, I don't want to see you until the auction's over, and everything in between. Eddie Shoup's daughter was one that did that. She said, I can't bear to be here. It's just too difficult right now. She said, I'll see you when the auction's over. And I said, okay, we'll take care of it. So we tailor our service to what each individual situation requires. The process. In short, it starts with a phone call, text message, email, or a conversation at the grocery store of, I have X and I need to sell it, or grandma and grandpa are downsizing and going to the Pope apartments and I need to sell their stuff, or something like that. We set up an initial meeting where I come out to the property, take a look around, tell me what needs to be sold, and we start formulating a plan. After we have most of the plan together, we begin the sorting, packing, moving, organizing, cleaning, displaying, photographing, listing, inventory, preparation, the fast talking, recording, loading, cleanup, and more. And that is a very abbreviated list of everything we get into. And as an auctioneer, one thing that you learn very quickly is you take on multiple job titles and wear a lot of different hats, including listener, advisor, therapist, mediator, referee at times. Unfortunately, there have been situations where auction day was the last time that siblings spoke to each other. It can get very tense when you're going through a death process and liquidating parents' estates and so forth. Sometimes two grandchildren can't agree on who gets grandma's quilt, so it gets sold at the auction, and grandma's quilt can bring $10,000 some days. It gets very, very difficult. These two items on the screen, a roadster that we sold about 2 years ago, I believe. That was up in Dornsife area. And on the bottom, a blue decorated Calvin and Wilcox batter jug. That was down in Dauphin. Wrap up and what happens after the auction. When auction day is done, you take a deep breath and relax, but only for one hot dog and then it's back to work. Because when the auction is done, then the cleanup happens. So we have to load all of our tables, clean up all of our things, get the trash picked up, make sure that your property doesn't look like a bomb went off when we leave. We have to count all the money, make sure that everything is accounted for, make sure that Denny paid his bill at the end of the day, that sort of thing. Disposing of things that don't sell. Inevitably, when you have an auction, there are going to be items that don't sell. Even if we thought it would be sellable, sometimes it just doesn't. The market changes every day, and what people are buying and collecting changes as well. So, unfortunately, the necessary evil becomes a dumpster. There's so much more that goes into the process, again, based on what situation fits your particular need. There's a lot of paperwork involved in the auction business. Client copies, attorney's copies, file copies, the bookkeeping. So it's really not just the fast talking, making sure that everybody knows what sold, how much it sold for. It can be filed with the state. It can be filed in the state tax return if necessary. Bookkeeping on my end to make sure that I can do my taxes at the end of the year. And then when that's all done, sort of, we begin preparations for the next one. So it is never a case where you end one and then begin the next. You're always working on many, many different parts, many different auctions. Sometimes they start to run together, but you're always working on multiple things. Today we were working in a garage. We seem to pick the coldest days to do that, which stands to reason. So we were working in the garage today, cataloging and photographing for an upcoming online auction. Meanwhile, I have a flash drive sitting on the counter at home with a coin auction. The photos are already done. Information's already in the spreadsheet. It's ready to upload. In the lower level of the building, we have Christmas stuff stacked up all over the place that we need to display and organize and take photos of yet. And on Monday, I go back for a second meeting with another family to get their process started. And I just wait for the phone to ring again and again. These two items, pontoon boat here on the bottom, that was kind of a neat thing to sell. Boats don't have a title, but the trailer that they come on do. So you also have that you have to deal with. You have to make sure that whoever the executor is of the estate has a copy of the death certificate, arrange a time that the buyer, the seller, can go to the notary, get the paperwork transferred. So there's things that can get really involved. But yes, we can sell trailers, vehicles, machinery, boats, all kinds of things via auction, be it live or online. This is an antique Dr. Pepper electric lighted clock. Would have been something that Dr. Pepper would have given to a store proprietor. This one did not come from, but maybe a Minix store or down at Companies in the Square, something like that, to advertise, hey, come in here and get your cold Dr. Pepper. That one we sold at an auction over at the Enders Fisherville School, and actually had a gentleman who wanted to leave an absentee bid. An absentee bid means he couldn't be there the day of the auction, so he calls, he says, I want to bid on an item, and I said, okay, and I take his information and his maximum bid, and then as a loose policy, the way we kind of work our absentee bids is we start them off at roughly half of what they would be willing to pay and bid for that person accordingly as long as somebody else is bidding. So if his bid was $400, his max bid was $400 on the clock, we may have started at around $200. And if somebody else was bidding, we would run it up as long as he was still in the money. And if it goes beyond what he was willing to pay, then the person on the floor gets it. But if it only goes to $300, and that's the amount that his bid was, even though he was willing to go to $400, if that's where it stopped, then he pays $300 for it. So, all kinds of different things. Why do we do it? The passion. I love to see people's collections and hear their stories. Coming in here tonight, I started by walking around the building and looking at the lovely things that you have here. Every item has its own history, and it's my job to preserve that history, pass it along to a new generation. Beyond being the auctioneer, I am a junkie. I collect more than my wife wishes I would collect. In our business, junk is a 4-letter word. That was a Diebler and Shoop-ism. You weren't allowed to say junk, and especially not in front of the client, and if they caught you, you were getting a tongue lashing. But people tell us they have a lot of junk all the time. I collect different things. I love to go to auctions, antique malls, surf eBay, see what lies beyond the next turn. I'm always looking for something, anything. I do collect John Deere, everything, from big tractors to little tractors to oil cans to matchbooks. Ned Smith and Ned Smith Glassware. Mackenzie collects Disney pins and other Disney ephemera. That was a whole world that I didn't know about before we got together. Pin trading is something that they did in the theme parks, in Disney theme parks. So, you know, you got little pieces of basically pot metal. It's not like they're gold or silver or anything. But it was to get people engaged while they were at the park. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't grow up as a Disney kid. So we get together, she says about Disney pins. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. And find out that there is a whole world out there for Disney pins. She's a member of some groups on Facebook. They trade pins back and forth across the world. And she has had pins that are probably about 3 or 4 inches in diameter, that are $1,500, $2,000 each. And it just blew my mind when I found out how much lies in that world. But while Disney pins aren't exactly my thing, John Deere stuff wasn't exactly her thing either. So our living room, it kind of became half and half. Over here we have an Oliver toy tractor box, just the box, no toy with it. And then the new idea sickle bar mower with the box, and that grouping, that lot, brought about $350 the day that we sold that. So folks who collect farm toys, any toys, they like boxes. They like to have the piece with the box. So they're willing to pay one heck of a price to get a box if they have the toy, or they'll get the box and then get the toy, because the toy is the easy part to find. The box is not. We do also sell a lot of jewelry, beautiful gold, topaz and diamond accent ring that we had in one of our online auctions. I wish I could tell you what it brought, but I don't remember. But we do a lot of coins, we do a lot of jewelry, artwork, antiques, collectibles, household goods, just about anything and everything you can think of. And our brief Q&A. Some of you may recognize the sign on this page from Carl's Recording and TV Lab downtown here. But a brief Q&A, can you sell real estate on auction? Absolutely. A lot of folks don't realize that. They don't know that that is a possibility. So the first thing they do when somebody passes is they call a realtor. That's okay. I've worked with a lot of realtors. We've done jobs together. That's fine. But we can also sell the real estate on public auction. One of the benefits to that is you get to sell that real estate as is. So if your house, or your parents' or grandparents' house, maybe the carpet isn't great anymore. You didn't put money into replacing carpet. That's okay. You can sell it that way. The benefit beyond that is typically, in an auction situation, the commission rate is cheaper than what a realtor would charge as well. So make sure you know your options when the situation arises. Can you sell guns and firearms? Absolutely. We just had an auction 2 weekends ago, I think. We had 53 firearms on the auction, lots of ammunition and shells, military. What is a reserve? A reserve is a minimum price desired or required to sell an item. Biggest thing that you put a reserve on, of course, is real estate, but you can put a reserve on pretty much anything. Reserve is a 4-letter word of sorts to buyers. When they see that an item has a reserve, or they hear that an item has a reserve, they get a little nervous about that. They don't want to open their pocket as easily when you say that R word. But to protect the seller, it's certainly something that we can do. And in an instance where you have a reserve and we'll say it's $100, if we get to $80 on auction day, we can say, okay, today $80 is enough. We're good with that. Or we can reserve the right to bring that high bidder in and try and work a deal, and maybe we settle on $90. Where can you see what we have for sale? AuctionZip.com is the industry-leading website for auction information. If you type in AuctionZip.com on your computer and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and put in ID number 41407, that will take you to the Liddick Auction Services page. It will show you a list of all of the auctions that we have, whether they're live or online. It'll show you what's there. You can look at pictures, you can read a listing, much like a traditional sale bill. Our online auctions are conducted through highbid.com. If you go to liddickauctions.highbid.com, you'll be able to see all of the online-only auctions that we have. You'll be able to go through, again, see pictures, read descriptions of each item. Both of those websites offer a search feature, the Google of the auction world, if you will. You can go in and type in keywords if you're interested in trains. You can type in trains. If you're interested in John Deere, you can type in John Deere, or Disney pins, or what have you. What if I don't have an auction, enough for an auction of my own? That's okay. We'll make a plan. I have folks who I've sold one item for, and I have folks who I've sold thousands of items for, and everything in between. So it is not a big deal. We can combine items for an auction. We do that a lot with our coin auctions, where you might have Granddad's dresser box, and he had a few coins in it, and you want to sell them. Okay, we take those, make sure we package them up, and we present those for auction. But we also have your coin collection that is $500,000 of gold coins. That's okay. We'll run those two concurrently in the same auction. Of course, you get paid for your coins, you get paid for your coins, but we brought buyers together at the same time to make sure that you both got the amount of money for your coins that they should fetch at auction. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm doing the article for the newspaper. What year did you officially open your business?
2015. So this is 10 years in business, which is hard to believe, but it's been 10 years of strife, 10 years of fun, and 10 years of memories for sure.
Do you have a place where you show these collections and things? Do you have
I do. We recently purchased, I say recently, it's been about 2 years now that we purchased what was the popcorn factory in Millersburg. Prior to that, it was Keystone Broomworks. So if you know where the historic train station is in Millersburg, there's a long, skinny white building right beside it. That's our building now. That's our home. So we have tables and showcases and things set up in there. I have temporary walls and all kinds of different things that we use to display whatever we have needing displayed. And that's where we host, if we're doing an online auction, that's where we host our preview and pickup day most of the time. So we would go to your house, get your items, take them there, sort them, clean them, display them, stage them, photograph them, and then host preview day where anybody in the world can come in and take a look. We run the auction online. Bidding closes Thursday night. Friday afternoon, people can come in and pick up what they want. We also do a lot of shipping. We do most of our shipping in-house, which can be difficult at times, but it is another facet of the business and allows us more worldwide exposure and allows you a better price for your items. So we do ship all across the country all the time. Alaska, Hawaii, Canada. We just did a motorcycle helmet to Guam, I think. So yeah, we get stuff all over the place. But yes, we do. We also offer preview days and pickup days when we do on-site auctions. So an on-site online auction, which is what we were working on today. So we kept everything at the person's house. They had a garage that we could use to set up the auction. We set it up there. We will host preview day there. Again, people can come in and look. And we'll host pickup day there as well. Then anything that's sold that does need to be shipped, we'll probably just put it in the truck, take it back over to the building so that we have all of our shipping supplies pretty handy there. And we'll ship it out from our building.
How does the bidding work?
How does the bidding work? Have you ever bid on anything on eBay before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's very, very similar to eBay. So if you go in, you'll see, are you able to pull up the website? Just hit escape. And then open a new tab and go to liddickauctions.highbid.com. So currently, we have the Don Heckman collection. Mr. Heckman was very involved in the Pennsylvania chapter of the NWTF and NWTF as a whole. Very avid artwork collector and turkey call collector. When his daughters contacted me originally, and when they contacted me, he had over 300 pieces of art and over 300 turkey calls. And I said, well, we're going to break that into a couple auctions because that's just going to flood the market. So this is part 4. We do one about every 6 months, and this is part 4. And if we scroll, or if we hit new view catalog on the right-hand side, there's 127 lots to this auction. And if we scroll down a little bit, and if we click on lot 1 here, this is just the welcome. Gives you some information. That's a picture of Mr. Heckman. So if you scroll down a little more, it'll give you the bidding notice, lot number 1, a description, and this tells you just a welcome to the auction. Here's all sorts of information. And then if we scroll back up, and I'll be able to undo this later, and click on the bid $2. So that means that, well, just above that where it says high bid, it means nobody has bid on this lot yet. Well, that's because there's no item there. But if you click on $2, and you have to register for the auction, and agree to the terms and conditions, which you're supposed to read before you hit agree, and complete registration. Okay, so now, she clicked on bid $2, so now this screen comes up. So she can hit confirm bid right there, and it will bid $2 for her. Or she can click in the box, and she can change it that she's willing to pay $200 for Mr. Heckman, and she can hit confirm bid. When she does that, it is going to put a $2 bid in for her. If somebody else comes along and bids, it will continue to bid for her up to that $200. If nobody else bids, she wins Mr. Heckman for $2. The interesting part is if she's willing to pay $200 and you're willing to pay $200, she put in her bid right now, and if you do it tomorrow, even if in a traditional auction it would be your turn to bid at $200, it gives preferential treatment to her, not because she's my wife, but because she put her bid in first. So whoever puts that bid in first is the one who gets that bid in the event of a tie. The auctions, we have the auction set up to utilize what's called a staggered close. So lot 1 will close at 6 o'clock on Thursday night. Then lot 2 will close 20 seconds later. Lot 3 will be 20 seconds after that, and so on and so forth. So it's not like a light switch where everything turns off at one time. The third feature is a soft close. And what that means, if you're familiar with eBay, you hear people say that they got sniped on eBay in the last few seconds, where somebody will wait until those last couple seconds and they'll go in and hit it, and the computer grabs that bid, shuts down the item, and they want it instead of you. So the soft close feature doesn't allow for you to come in and snipe. So if you bid within the last few minutes, last 2 minutes, it's going to add 2 more minutes to the clock. So you and Mackenzie might continue to bid on Mr. Heckman for 30 minutes, as long as each of you keep bidding. The little baby downside to that is it doesn't extend the time for all of the auction lots, just that one that you're bidding on. So while lot 1 is getting extended by 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 2 minutes, lots 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 have already closed. So you do, it does get a little jumpy at times, and you have to kind of pay attention. I did have a guy who bought something in one of our most recent auctions, and he said, what is that? I said, well, that's this item, and you bought it. He said, are you sure? Yep, right here it says you bought it. He said, must have been trying to bid on something else. So the computer will automatically remove closed lots. So if lot 3 has closed, it'll take it out of the catalog. And if you think that you're clicking in time to bid on lot 3 and it removes it, you may actually end up bidding on lot 4. So it can get a little dicey. But you can go in and put your max bids in, the computer can bid for you, and it will bid for you the whole time until it closes. And then you do get emails when you are outbid on something. So if Mackenzie just puts a $2 bid in on Mr. Heckman, and then Marilyn comes in and bids $3, Mackenzie will get an email that says, oh, you've been outbid, you have to go back in and bid $4.
How do you sign up to bid? You say people, you have to sign up.
So that was what she did before we went into this lot, where it brought up the box that said that you had to agree to the terms and conditions. One thing, I'll be honest, that I really don't like about high bid, if you go in here tonight and register for the auction, it's going to ask you to put a credit card in. I don't require a credit card to register for my auction. High bid requires you to put one in. I have a lot of folks who think that means that I automatically charge their credit card when the auction is over, which is not the case. I don't like forcing you to use a credit card. I believe that you should have the option to come pay cash or check. I have people all across the country that will mail me checks when they buy things. So I don't require a credit card to register, but you'll have to put one in. But then when you go into our auction, it's going to ask you to register, and then it's basically just clicking that you accept those terms and conditions, and then you can go in and bid.
Do you always get paid when someone bids on something?
No. I wish I did. No, I have gotten stuck with quite a few larger dollar items, which stinks, but that's part of doing business. I'm also sort of easygoing, so I'll have people, except with Danny, I'll have people that will bid on 20 items in an auction, and they end up getting one item for $2, and they live 2 hours away, and they're like, I don't want to drive 2 hours for a little $2 item, you know, I'm like, okay. So sometimes people will call and say, hey, I'll pay the $2, can you just throw it away? All right, fine, or donate it or whatever. Sometimes they don't call, and it is what it is. You deal with it, take it on the chin, and move on. I have had cases where I had somebody register for an auction. They bought a $550 gold coin. I shipped it, and about 20 days later, got a credit card charge back on my account. That the credit card they used was not their credit card. The coin was already gone. I already sent the check to the consignor, and here I sit, less $550.
Now, do you have insurance on that?
You can get insurance. I don't use it because
The insurance goes up.
and it's just a pain. But yes, there is insurance like that. I had another situation similar to that. I shipped out jewelry, gold jewelry. And I got a phone call from a post office in Michigan one day. I'm like, I don't know anybody in Michigan, like not on a first name basis. And he answers the phone, the guy says, Mr. Liddick, you have a package here that is addressed to John Doe. Do you know him? Nope. He bid in an auction that I had. He won some gold jewelry. He paid with a credit card. I'm shipping it to him. He goes, well, I hate to tell you this, but we've had a lot of other auction houses call here and try to intercept the packages because the credit card chargeback hit, and we were unable to do that. I'm like, okay, so what do we do now? He said, well, I'm going to help you as long as you tell me you want me to send it back to you. I said, sure. So then the guy calls and he's all upset because he didn't get his gold jewelry. And I asked him why I didn't get his credit card. And he hung up the phone and I didn't hear from him anymore. So that one turned out okay, as good as it could, I guess. But yeah, there's always things that happen that just, you could get upset about it and let it ruin your day, or you can move on and get to the next item.
Do they have to tell you to charge their credit card, or they have to tell you they're gonna send you a check, or?
So I send an invoice. Everybody gets an emailed invoice. Auction closes Thursday night at 6. Friday morning I'll send invoices, and in that invoice it says pickup is available, da 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 da. Or if you require shipping, please respond to this email and tell us so. So then they respond, yes, I want my item shipped. Now obviously, in most cases, I can tell if they're in Florida or Texas or wherever, they're going to want their item shipped. We pack them, we add the shipping cost, we add a credit card processing fee, and we send them an updated invoice, and then we require that they call us to pay with a card over the phone. So because I don't require that credit card for registration to my auction, HiBid won't give me your credit card information. So even though they make you put it in there, they won't give it to me to be able to charge it. And that creates confusion for folks. I have a lot of folks who have said, oh, I thought it would just charge automatically. I'm like, well, if you read your email, you would know that that's not the case. But no, it doesn't charge automatically. I need you to call. And a lot of people call. I do have people that text me their credit card information or pictures of their credit card. I have people that email me their credit card information or pictures of their credit card. You know, to each their own. And as time goes, you learn what to look for and when it might be somebody who's trying to pull a fast one, and you just kind of nix that before it becomes a problem.
Well, a check, you would get notified faster than with the credit card.
Right. So the check is kind of nice because there's an older gentleman out in Marshall, Missouri, who buys coins from me, and he always wants to send me a check, and totally fine with me, not a big deal. But he'll send a check, and then I wait till the check clears at the bank, give it 3 or 4 days, and then ship his merchandise. It's kind of hard to hold somebody's merchandise for 30 or 45 days when they use a credit card because they have that 30-day period to do the chargeback. They don't really like when you hold on to it for that long, but the check makes things a little easier, and I really do like giving people the option to pay with a check. I feel more comfortable if they pay with a check.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am?
Yes, okay. You offer amazing services.
I don't know about amazing, but I try.
No, honestly. So, do you have someone to help you and Mackenzie?
Well, yes and no. In the last 2 years, it's been primarily Mackenzie and myself. And my cousin Andrew does help me as well. If you go down to the authority building to pay your bill, he's the goofy skinny kid that's down there. So he does help me a lot as well. I have been blessed with staff in all my years of doing it that have been wonderful, strong-willed, knowledgeable. When Ed Shoup passed away, the staff that he had at that time knew that I was working on getting my license. And when he passed away, I called everybody together and I said, what do you guys want to do? We're a team. We've been a team. We're going to continue to be a team if we're going to continue to be a team. And they all said, we will work for you if you want to continue. So that's how it started. And I had those folks with me, and over time, some have gotten to the point where they're beyond their years of wanting to crawl around in attics and so forth. Some have had grandkids, and they wanted to spend more time with grandchildren. Honestly, some have had personality differences. That happens in any workplace. And we kind of, you lose some, you add a few, you lose some, you add a few. But I've been very, very blessed with a lot of staff that I trust with anything and everything.
And one more question.
Sure.
Where's your warehouse?
So the building that we're in, if you go down to Millersburg, do you know where Max's is, the restaurant?
Yes.
Max's, their address is actually Center Street, okay? They have that back parking lot behind the building, but their address is actually Center Street. Directly across from them is the train station, and I'm right beside the train station. So the block that the train station is on has 4 buildings. The train station is one, the Frontier little block shed thing is the second, me, and then there's a private residence on the block as well.
So that's the same as where you have a display?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I do have a storage facility in Pillow, where Piper's Fire Protection used to be. When Todd still owned the company over there, he stored his antique fire trucks in the green and tan pole building, and I've rented that for 8-9 years, almost the whole time I've been doing this. So I do have storage over there. My grandmother, God love her, she begrudgingly allowed me to store a lot of stuff on her farm. She has since passed away. My dad bought the farm, and I still store things there as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
I wondered. Thank you.
Oh, goodness. Yes, sir.
If I buy something from you for $1,000
Mm-hmm.
and you ship it to me, but I don't pay you, is there any way to prevent me from bidding in the future?
There is.
Okay.
So, I'm not going to show it to you just for people's privacy,
That's fine.
but this is the bidder and buyer screen of HiBid. I, as an auction company, I have a totally different way of viewing everything having to do with Mr. Heckman's auction. I can see who's watching the item, who's bidding on the item, where they live, and one of the things that you have when you get your HiBid profile is you start to build a reputation score. Now you start at 0. Stands to reason. A 100 score is the highest score that you can get. You're an A student. You can also get a minus 100 score. That's not such a good student. Exactly.
So what's
but-
my score?
I don't know what your score is offhand, Mr. Henninger, but I could look into that for you.
That's Rich, what his score is on HiBid.
Probably minus 500.
No, it's probably pretty.
But yes, so
Really?
I can go in and I can see, okay, Dennis has a low score, and it's because, well, he's only been using HiBid for the last 18 months. He's only registered for 4 auctions in 18 months, so yeah, he's not going to have a very high score. Or I can see, okay, well, XYZ auction company in Dillsburg said, yeah, this guy stiffed us for $500. And John Doe Auction Company in Chambersburg says, yeah, this guy stiffed me for $700, and so forth. And I can say, yeah, I'm not going to let him stiff me, and I can decline his bids. I could decline all of his bids. I could decline a partial bid. So if I wanted to take a chance on him and say, I'll let him spend $100, I could do that, and then I could just decline anything above $100. But yes, I can decline you from a specific auction. I can decline just a single bid. So actually what I will do, and this doesn't affect your score, but I will go in and decline or reject, not decline, I will reject the bid that Mackenzie placed on Mr. Heckman so that she doesn't owe me $2. That won't impact her score, but I do have the ability to do it on a bid-by-bid basis. I also have the opportunity to approve you for all auctions up to a certain dollar amount, or anything in this auction up to a certain dollar amount.
Is there anything you've refused to put online or bid, that you found people to bid on?
I've refused people to bid, yes. There was a gentleman who had a minus 100 score on HiBid, and he called me, and he said, hey, I'd like to bid in your auction. All right, that's kind of showing some goodwill by calling and saying you want to be a bidder. you're going to have to pay cash. Okay, no problem. Bought a couple $1,000s worth of stuff, brought me cash, walked away. Okay, fine. Next auction, I think he emailed me. I want to bid. Okay, gonna have to bring cash. Yep, no problem. And we built a relationship. And it did get to the point where I allowed him to use a check. And he had a minus 100 score, and I allowed him to bid for several years and never stiffed me. At times I would wait a few weeks to get paid, but he always paid me. And whether it was intentional or he forgot or whatever, he bought $30 worth of stuff in an auction, and he didn't come. Okay. Then he bid in another auction, it was like $10. Okay, so we're not talking big dollars here. And he has about a 45-minute drive. And didn't call, didn't say anything about that one. So now we're back 2 auctions. He registers for the 3rd auction. And I'm like, you're not bidding until I get paid for the other 2. Oh, I'll pay. You're not going to bid until I get paid. He has not paid that $40, and I have not seen him in a year and a half. So we had a good relationship for a while, and for whatever reason it turned sour, and there's other people to buy that stuff.
Is there anything you will not sell?
Not really.
Do you sell clothing?
I have sold clothing. I used to joke that I could sell anything but liquor and people. However, at charity events, they will do date night with whoever. Well, that's selling people. Okay, so I guess we take that one off the table. And I found out through conversation and phone calls with the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board that I am legally allowed to sell alcohol on auction as long as it is part of a decedent's estate. So if your father or mother has passed and they had a collection of Jim Beam bottles or a wine collection, as long as it's part of their estate, I can sell it. If you collect Jim Beam bottles or wine and you say, hey, I'm going to go down to the Pope Apartments and I need to get rid of this stuff, you best get drinking. I called the Liquor Control Board. I had a situation where the gentleman collected Jim Beam bottles. He had passed away, collected Jim Beam bottles. They were all still sealed. And I thought, man, I hate to break the seals, because once you break the seal, they're just not worth as much. So I called down the Liquor Control Board. The lady says, sir, I can't give you an answer. I said, well, then put somebody on the phone who can give me an answer. She says, well, all of our attorneys are busy right now. I said, well, then take my phone number and have them call me when they're not busy. She says, well, sir, how about this? Are you at your computer? I can be. Okay. Go to this website, click on this page, scroll down to this link, look at this paragraph, and you'll find your answer. So I did it. I said, give me one moment. Did it while I was on the phone with her, read it to her. I said, ma'am, my interpretation of that is that as long as it is part of an estate, which this is, I can sell this liquor. She says, well, sir, I cannot tell you whether your interpretation is correct or not, but that is how I read it. I say, that's good enough for me. And we sold those full Jim Beam bottles. I have had people get nervous about selling things like Klan memorabilia, KKK memorabilia, or Nazi ephemera, Playboy magazines. Truly, I've had people really be hesitant about it. And my theory is whether you agree or disagree with what the Klan or the Nazis or Playboy did or do, doesn't erase that part of history. And of course, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. So my theory always is, let's sell it. There is somebody who will collect it, and hopefully it will help somebody to learn what not to do. Any other questions? Oh, goodness.
Well, it's really not a question, it was just a comment. You had a box up there, Oliver tractor, empty,
Mm-hmm.
for $300,
Mm-hmm.
and this is on eBay. There was a box on eBay for a train, and I thought, well, it'd be nice to bid on that. But it was started to go pretty high, and I thought this gentleman over here was bidding. So I didn't want to bid against him. And the thing actually sold for $7,000, empty.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Mitch assured me it was not him.
Not on my salary.
Boxes can be, oh yes, boxes can be very, very costly. Yeah. I have started a collection of boxed merchandise, and it started with 1970s Dixie cups. I found them in a house, and they were in the original box from Dixie, and they had some funky pattern on them and had clear cellophane on the front that you could see them, and got them for a couple of dollars, no big deal, and thought, someday somebody's going to really, really like that box of Dixie cups. So, yeah.
Did you ever sell it?
No, I still have it.
You still
I told Mackenzie, the only thing I ask is that when I die, she doesn't sell my stuff for what I told her I paid. Now, most of the time, it might take a little while, but most of the time, I tell her what I paid for it. But I have John Deere match packs. You know, you used to go to the store and buy your pack of cigarettes. Oh, can I get a pack of matches? Sure. And they'd say, some square, whatever. I have John Deere match packs that I have paid $300 for, an individual match pack. I have a John Deere coin bank that's about this tall that I paid $310 for. Now don't get me wrong, I have John Deere coin banks and match packs that I paid $5 or $10 for too. But when there is something that you collect and you really, really like it, it really doesn't matter what the price tag says.
Didn't I give you a matchbook? Did you ever pay me for that?
Yeah, I think I gave you an ice cream cone. One more thing, if we don't have any more questions. I did have an attorney's office call me one time, and I was still kind of new in the auction business, and I thought, The attorney said, there's a lady sitting in my office, and I can't tell you who she is, but she asked if she could write into her will that you do the auction when she passes away. I didn't know you could write such a thing into a will. Apparently you can. I said, sure, not a problem. And while that is funny, it's comical, in all sincerity, I do have a lot of folks who have asked since then, can we put documentation down to have you do the auction? One of my best pieces of advice is to take a card and just put it with your funeral papers or whatever you have, your deed to your house, whatever, and make sure that your children or grandchildren or whoever's going to take care of your affairs after your passing, just make sure that they know where those papers are and make sure that they have names and phone numbers for everybody that they're going to need to contact. Yes, sir.
Sarah brought two jugs here. If you
I saw that.
Look, okay. I didn't know if you want to do that now or later.
The boss says later.
Sure.
Any other questions? thank you all very much for coming out tonight. I do appreciate it. I enjoy talking. I really enjoy talking about things I'm passionate about, and the auction business is certainly one of those things. So thank you very much.
Thank you.